A 27-year-old med student goes to a bar to celebrate the beginning of spring break and vanishes without a trace. This week we're talking about the strange disappearance of Brian Shaffer. So it's March 31st, 2006, and med student Brian Shaffer is gearing up for a night on the town with his friends. Shortly before the meetup, he sits down for dinner with his father Randy at a local Outback steakhouse, where Randy notices that Brian looks tired from night after night of studying. Shortly after 9 p.m., Brian and Randy go about their separate ways. Brian goes to meet with his friend Clint Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloona in downtown Columbus, where they have a couple of shots of hard liquor before making their way closer to downtown, bar hopping throughout the rest of the night. So they go bar to bar, taking a shot of liquor at each place. They get to downtown and meet up with their friend Meredith Reed, who's their designated driver for the night. They take one more shot at a bar in downtown before Meredith draws them back to the Ugly Tuna Saloona where they started. So they get back to the Ugly Tuna Saloona, and that's where Meredith and Clint get separated from Brian. So by now it's around 1 a.m. Around 1:30, Brian is spotted on CCTV coming up the escalator back into the bar. Shortly before 2 a.m., he's seen again on CCTV right outside the bar in the breezeway speaking to two college-age girls. But at 2 a.m. when the bar closed, Brian was nowhere to be found. So Brian did live about 2 blocks away from the Ugly Tuna Saloona, and it wasn't super rare for him to just walk home after a night of partying. So they just assumed that that's probably what happened, and just let it be. The next morning they wake up, Brian's father Randy and his girlfriend Alexis both try to contact him, but he doesn't answer. Alexis assumes that he's just hungover, he's sleeping in for the day, whatever. So a few days pass by. March 3rd rolls around when Alexis and Brian were planning to take their trip to Miami, where Brian was expected to propose. Alexis shows up to the airport that morning, sits patiently and waits for Brian, but he never shows. So Alexis goes home, calls Brian's father Randy and tells him that Brian never showed up, to which Randy goes to the police and immediately reports Brian missing. So after Brian's disappearance, Alexis calls his phone every night before she goes to bed, in the hopes that Brian will answer, or at worst, she'll get to hear his voice through his voicemail one more time. So fast forward to late September of that year, of 2006. That September, Alexis calls Brian's phone, to which it rings 3 times before going to voicemail. Alexis thinks this is a sign that Brian's alive and reports it to the police. Police look into it and find that the cell phone pinged to a tower right outside of town. Authorities contacted AT&T, which is Brian's cell phone provider, to which they responded that it was just some sort of error. And that's it. A few months after Brian vanished, 2 kids broke into his apartment and stole a TV and a Blu-ray player. The police looked into it again to see if it had anything to do with his disappearance. Turns out it didn't. It was just a weird incident. So all this happens in March, early summer, late spring of 2006. Nothing really happens for about 2 years. So let's fast forward to the fall of 2008. So fall of 2008 rolls around, September specifically. Brian's father Randy has now moved on to a house in Baltimore, Maryland. A heavy rainstorm just came through. There's a lot of debris in the yard, stuff like that. So Randy's outside in the yard cleaning up debris from the storm when a tree falls over and lands on top of him, killing him almost instantly. The next day, his neighbors come out and find him pinned under the tree. They call the paramedics. The paramedics pronounce him deceased. A memorial is posted online where you can check in and send your condolences to the family. And there's a message on the memorial that says, "To Brian, love Dad," from the U.S. Virgin Islands. So obviously the comment went viral. Millions of people saw it. So police looked into it and found out that it was posted from a public computer in a public library in Columbus. So turns out that glimmer of hope was actually just a really sick hoax. So in March of 2020, the FBI posted a picture of what Brian Shaffer may look like now. In 2021, a picture of a homeless man living on the streets of Tijuana, Mexico was posted online. The internet believed this picture to be of Brian Shaffer. The FBI did a facial recognition scan and determined that that was not in fact Brian Shaffer, but yet another weird occurrence in this already strange case. With that being said, let's get into some theories. So in the days and weeks after Brian's disappearance, Clint Florence immediately lawyered up and refused to cooperate with law enforcement, leading a lot of people to believe that he's either responsible or knows where Brian is. So theory 2 is that Brian escaped through a back door into the construction area behind the Ugly Tuna Saloon. So this theory has already been kind of debunked, because the area behind the Ugly Tuna Saloon, even back then, wasn't a bare construction site. It was a 2-story building that had already been mostly constructed. So at worst, he would have had to walk through another building, not through some big hole in the ground or some big messy area. So I don't, and even then, if that was the case, wouldn't he be somewhere in the open that construction crews would have seen him when they resumed construction that Monday? It doesn't add up to me. This theory to me seems bogus. So this last theory is one that I haven't really heard people talk about, but one that I've always thought about, which is maybe he did escape that day. Maybe he did vanish that day on purpose, considering what all was going on with his mom and, his mental health and stuff. Maybe he did decide to vanish because he was unhappy and he was going through a lot mentally. And then maybe once he got to wherever he was getting to, maybe he regretted it. Maybe he wished that he wouldn't have done it. But at the same time, when he left, there's no way he would have known that his case would have become one of the biggest disappearances in American history. So maybe now he's aware of how high profile of a case it is, and he knows if he came back that the news would eat him alive. Not to mention law enforcement would be all over his back, trying to figure out exactly what happened, how he disappeared, and if he did something wrong. So that's the theory that I never really hear about, but probably the most plausible to me. So it's editor Justin, here to add a little post note to this. While I was editing this, I looked down and realized that today is actually Brian's birthday. He would have been 44, I believe, today. So I don't really know how to process that information. I don't really have anything to say other than, Brian, wherever you are, I hope that you're safe. I hope that this choice brought you some peace. I'm sure that losing your mother was unbelievably hard on your mental health. And although I don't really understand why you would disappear in that way and leave everybody, pretty much ghost everybody that you knew, I mean, it's not really my place to understand. So wherever you are, Brian, if you're still alive, I hope you're doing okay. If you have any information about Brian Shaffer's disappearance, please contact Central Ohio Crime Stoppers at 1-877-645-8477 or log on to www.findbrianshaffer.com for more. So that's all I really have for you guys. This video took like 2 fucking weeks to do because I kept having to start over with the narration for a variety of reasons. I know this is completely new and I haven't posted in a long time, so you're probably asking yourself, hey Justin, where the fuck did this coming from? So this is going to be more the new format for the channel. More true crime, everything in the realm of pop culture as a whole. So I know a lot of you have forgotten about me and probably don't watch this anymore, and that's fine. In 2023, I promised myself that I was going to be more active on YouTube and get back to content creation because I wish that I would have never stopped doing it in the first place. So this is a new format. This is where the channel is going now. If you're still subscribed and you're still watching this, I genuinely appreciate the fact that you're still around. So I've got new content coming. Usually there'll be a video earlier in the week, more like I said, true crime, anything in the realm of pop culture, and then a podcast later on in the week with people that I think would have a good perspective on these topics that we're discussing. And don't think that it's just true crime. It's definitely not going to be just true crime. It's everything in the realm of pop culture. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Those of you, I know there's probably not many now because I haven't posted in so long. Those of you that are still sticking around, still riding with me, I appreciate y'all. I'm still figuring out how often I am able to post. Right now, my schedule is a little more open. We'll see, though. So I don't really have an outro, but I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Be good to be good at it. Peace out.